Hello and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. Have you ever invested hours of time and effort into making an ocean scene only to find that when you add your white at the end to make your beautiful white sea foam with cells and lacing, that it all goes wrong and you don't get cells and you don't get lacing? Yeah, me too. Well, I finally managed to get my hands on some WavePro pigment powder from Resin Pro. It was always sold out every time I tried to get some. But they've got it back in stock and I bought some. And today I'm going to be trying it out to see if I can solve my problem in creating my beautiful waves in resin. If that sounds like music to your ears and an end to your problems, please stay tuned and join me in my first attempt with WavePro from Resin Pro. Before I could begin experimenting with the WavePro to make my waves, I needed a surface to work on. I'd recently purchased 2 tray moulds from Resin Pro and the moulds have a recess in the middle, so I thought that would be perfect for doing some resin art in the middle. For my first tray, I decided to use resin. So I've got my transparent resin from Resin Pro and I'm adding stones and some crushed glass and some sand with the intention of making it look like a sandy beach for the resin wave to be applied to later on. For photography purposes, just to show you an idea of what your trays could be used for, I did show this one at the end with soap in, just to demonstrate that, you could make a soap dish or something like that in your bathroom. But if you're going to do that, I would recommend don't use this Jesmonite. Use AC 730 Jesmonite because that one you won't have to seal and you could use it like a soap dish and without any problems. But with AC 100, which I'm using now, it's not really ideal to use as a soap dish unless you're going to seal it. Once both of the trays were ready, it was time to prepare them for the resin, and I decided to paint them so that I didn't need to use any coloured resin. I just thought it'd be a lot simpler just to paint them both and then do my clear coat with the waves on afterwards. So I'm using acrylic paint. On this one I've got some teal paint. I think it's a metallic one from Deco Art, I think. And just some brown and a sandy colour. I think it's yellow ochre. And with hindsight, I wish I'd spent some more time on this because I really didn't spend enough time on it. I think I was so keen to have a go with the WavePro to find out if it worked that I didn't spend enough time on it. And you could see the brush strokes once the resin went on top. The resin really brings out all the details and it really showed up quite a lot more than I expected it to. So yeah, with hindsight, I would have done that. I did the same for my resin tray and this time I just used a little bit of the teal. I didn't want to do too much on this one. I just wanted it to look quite natural without too much colour. Okay, let's make some waves. The WavePro pigment powder from Resin Pro comes with a detailed instruction sheet which is really helpful. The ratio that it gives you of pigment powder to the resin is half a spoon of pigment powder to 3 to 4 spoons of resin. Because I only wanted a small amount, I used a small spoon, but you can change the size of your spoon and the ratio will still be the same. The issue I had was that I'm using Resin Pro Deluxe, which is an extra thick resin, which is just perfect for this method, this this technique that I'm doing today. But the thing is, it's so thick, you know, it's hard to do spoonfuls. So it's not an exact science. I think what I would like to do, because I do like to know my measurements, is to use some jewellery scales, you know, that measure really small amounts. So I might have to get some jewellery scales so that I can weigh things out and know exactly how much I'm doing. But yeah, I did half a spoon to 5 spoons of resin, and it wasn't exact because obviously I didn't completely clean my spoon off afterwards each time, so you just don't know. But basically what you need at the end when you've finished mixing it up is a nice opaque white. It needs to be a good strong crisp white, not a pale one, a strong one, and then you know you've got it, you know, pretty much as where you want it to be. Now, once you've mixed up your white pigment, you can use the remaining resin to pour onto your trays and just get it all spread out into position and leave it. If you're using ArtPro Deluxe, which this one is, the recommendation in the instructions is half an hour. Leave this one. If you're just using the ArtPro, which isn't the deluxe one, you leave it for an hour. The reason for that is to really let it thicken up, and the ArtPro Deluxe is already very thick, and that's why that one only needs half an hour. Right, half an hour later, I was ready to add my WavePro and resin mixture to the resin that's already on the boards, and I'm just applying it with a spoon so I've got better control right along the edge of the resin that I've already poured. And once it's all in place, you can get your heat gun, and I use a decorator's heat gun because it's really powerful, to blow that white right up along the rest of the resin so it spreads right up as far as you want it to go. With this resin, it's so thick and heavy that you do need a powerful torch to blow the white pigment. I normally use my embossing gun, which is quite gentle, and I did try it and it just wasn't strong enough to move it. After that first attempt, I realised it needed more white, so I just repeated the process until I was happy with it. I actually left it. I did this second bit of white and, you know, repeated the process, but I still wasn't happy with it. So I left it for a few minutes and went on to the other tray and did that one. And then when I came back to this one, it ended up much better. So just be patient and you'll see in a minute that it does turn out good in the end. So I continued with the process and I've sped it up a little bit because it did take quite a long time trying to perfect the amount of white that was necessary. It's one of those things you don't want to put too much on, because if you put too much on, you can't take it off again, can you? So I was a little bit scared of putting too much on, I think. And so I just kept adding a little bit more. And with a bit of patience and just keeping on going back to it, in the end, it really worked. And you can see all the cells forming as I finally get the amount of white and the amount of pressure with the gun just right. You might have noticed that every now and again I use my creme brulee torch just to pop any bubbles, but it also helps those cells to form. So that was another thing that I found that did help. I do need a lot of practice with this. It's something I haven't done that much. I had tried it a few times in the past and had fails, so many fails, and it kind of put me off doing this. But now that I've found something that works, I'm going to keep on practicing and getting it just right. I did find that working in the recess of these trays caused a bit of a strange thing to happen. It was like the white was bouncing off the edges and going more towards the inside of the space. And so I did end up using a little metal pin type tool just to spread bits out where I found that it just wasn't spreading where I wanted it to spread. But apart from that, I was pleased with the results. I think it would work better on a flat surface, but it was a great experiment, and I'm so happy to have found something that will definitely give me the wave effect that I want, to get that lacing and the cells. That's what I've been trying to get for so long, and I finally found the answer with the WavePro pigment. I'll continue to practice until I do get this just right. For a first attempt, I think it's great, but I'm not completely happy with it yet. What I will be doing is getting some jewellery scales so that I can really weigh out those small amounts more exactly so I can get my perfect recipe. So if you would like to see further experiments with the WavePro, to see my progression, to see if I can finally get it exactly how I want it, make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell, and you'll see all the new videos which are coming up soon. So that's it for today, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.